Puppy Playtime Chapter 2 is finally here, which unveils a lot of information about the lore and the theories we have been speculating on for the past several months. The protagonist, accompanied by the recently freed puppy, embarks on a new mission to find a way out of the factory swarmed by hostile life toys. However, he's obstructed by Mummy Longlegs, who forces him to play a few games before letting him go. Or will she? Hi folks, I'm R and welcome to the video. Make sure to send me your theories and game suggestions on Twitter, which I could cover in the next videos. This video will have spoilers. With that said, let's begin.
Obey the rules, or I'll tear you apart and eat your insides while you're still alive.
The unnamed protagonist continues from where he left off in Chapter 1, finding himself in Puppy's room, with her glass case opened and no sign of her to be seen anywhere. The introductory text suggests that the protagonist wants to find a way out of the factory now that he has found Puppy and uncovered the twisted atrocities that took place here. Using a door which was inaccessible before, the protagonist enters a three-way corridor, with a door in the middle labeled as Elliot Ludwig, the founder and the overseer of Playtime Co.
You are about to see the most incredible doll ever invented.
The door is locked, causing the protagonist to try the other two possible ways. Finding bloodstains and splatters on different parts of the walls, it becomes clear that people were murdered brutally, whether under the hands of Huggy Wuggy, who was the main antagonist in the first chapter, Mummy Longlegs, who the protagonist will face soon enough, or any other malevolent entities embodied in the walking monstrous toys. As the protagonist continues on, faint whispers guide him where he needs to go. On the right-hand path, the protagonist comes across a Huggy Wuggy interactive board with a button which plays a few pre-recorded voices, when the final one makes a sinister remark of squeezing children until something before being redacted.
I'll squeeze you until you...
Representing what became of Huggy Wuggy, becoming a menacing and a homicidal experiment who truly hugs people until they die. Finding a red puppy-shaped key, the protagonist manages to unlock Elliot Ludwig's door, which leads to his office. On his walls, he has multiple fan art drawings, seemingly from children due to their grammatical and spelling errors in writing, indicating that the company had a good relationship with children, especially as they had a project of fostering orphans and finding them suitable parents. On his desk, there lies a videotape and a note. The note reads about an experiment on a live rat labeled as Experiment 814, which was intentionally killed, then placed in a gel mixture including puppy flour in hopes of reviving the rat. The note ends on a much more sinister line, suggesting that the experiment would be probably more effective on larger organisms, which could indicate that puppy flour was used in the future experiments, bringing toys such as Puppy, Huggy Wuggy, and Mummy Longlegs to life. Inserting the VHS tape into the player, a quick documentary-type video covers a short segment of Elliot Ludwig's life, who lost a family member in the 1960s, which caused him a lot of distress. Despite that, he continued on working to produce more toys, and maybe that's when he started experimenting with puppy flowers, trying to bring a dead person back to life, which explains the multiple experiments on live beings and the deviated sinister current experiments making toys come to life.
Playtime Co. is the product of a great man by the name of Elliot Ludwig, divorced but a family man at heart. His sights were always set on bringing amazing toys to amazing children around the globe. Ludwig spent countless hours in the factory, working overtime relentlessly in an attempt to continuously innovate and surprise. In the 1960s, an unfortunate family death had pushed Ludwig down to his lowest. But with so much ambition, he rose back up and continued to fulfill his vision for the Playtime Co. toy factory. Ludwig could never be content leaving a project unfinished. But just how did one man come to create such an astounding empire? How did he manage to stay determined even after suffering such a tragic loss? It all began in the fateful year of 19...
It's clear that Elliot Ludwig wanted to bring back to life the beloved member of his family he lost in 1960s, leading to him to go insane and experiment on innocent humans, taking their lives and freedom. Going through a vent, the protagonist gets startled by a box dropping down, realizing that Puppy was trying to find a way out. She instructs him to power up the generator so they can head to the train, which she has the code of, so they can both escape the factory. Reaching a hallway, as Puppy is about to inform the protagonist about something, a stretchy hand emerges from the massive hall behind her, grabbing her and pulling her in, interrupting her from saying what she wanted to disclose with the protagonist.
I'm going to need you to trust me.
Jumping through the hole and following Puppy, the protagonist comes out of a hole, realizing it was an enormous slide. The slide is labeled as Elliot Ludwig, with a few more holes labeled as Stella Graber, Leith Pierre, and Eddie Demeanour. As heading to the game station, the protagonist gets stopped by Mummy Longlegs, keeping Puppy hostage, with her mouth being forced shut with some sort of spider web, with Mummy Longlegs informing the protagonist that he should play one of her games if he wants to survive and avoid being torn apart and have his insides eaten, instead of just being given the code to the train so easily by Puppy.
Isn't this exciting, Puppy? Very exciting, Mommy. Mommy heard that Miss Poppy was going to just give you the train code to escape. Now, how is that fun? Instead, why don't we make a game out of it? The game station is still working. It will be just like old times. And if you win all 3 games, I'll give you the train code. Mommy loves that idea, Puppy. Oh, you're going to have so much fun. Head to musical memory, and Mommy will get things started. Obey the rules, or I'll tear you apart and eat your insides while you're still alive.
Pulling out one of the hands on the grab pack, the protagonist is only left with the blue hand. He proceeds to enter the game station where the train is present. On the walls, the protagonist gets a good view of a drawing of all of the main mascots: Puppy, Huggy Wuggy, Kissy Missy, Mummy Longlegs, Brawn, Boogie Butt, Bonzo Bunny, Catbee, Candy Cat, and PJ Puggy-Pillar. Entering the game station, there are many other fan arts by kids, one showing Huggy Wuggy hugging Kissy Missy, who is a female counterpart to him, which could be suggestive of them having had a relationship. There are 3 underground game places called Musical Memory, Statues, and Whack-A-Wuggy. In order for the train to be activated, the protagonist has to play all of these games when he pulls one of the hand levers and opens the Musical Memory. A pre-recorded voice by Stella unveils that she did in fact obtain a job in the factory after her interview observed in the first chapter through the pink videotape, who is now instructing the kids what to do in the game station.
Hi kids, welcome to the game station. I'm Stella, and we've got 3 super duper fun games to play. These little tests show us just how crazy strong and smart you are. Follow Mommy Longlegs down the stairs, and we'll start by playing Musical Memory. See you in a bit.
Going to the Musical Memory, the protagonist reaches the molding room where he finds another videotape. Watching the tape, it's a tutorial how to use the green hand, which can contain a temporary electric shock. This, of course, becomes very handy later in the game. Molding a new green hand, the protagonist traverses through the vents, reaching a room with many TVs, which seems to involve another mascot called Bonzo Bunny. The TV room runs a game playing a series of color patterns, which the player must remember. If any mistakes are made, Bonzo the bunny descends from the ceiling lower and lower, which seems to crush the protagonist's head with the symbols that he uses. Mummy Longlegs then appears in the distance, informing the protagonist that it's been a long time before anyone came here, which corresponds with what Stella said at the train station, that the kids need to follow Mummy Longlegs.
Oh, isn't it amazing? Mommy hasn't seen the place up and running in years. Mommy can only imagine how excited Bonzo must be. It's been such a long time since he's been able to play, to cheer, to eat. Oh, that's the dinner bell. Good luck.
Therefore, Mummy seems to have been alive even when the kids were at the playground, as shown through the image taken on 1992, known as the Heyday. Successfully managing to beat the Remember the Color game, or also commonly known as Simon, Mummy in a menacing, disappointed tone gives part of the code to the train by stretching her arm unnaturally far and awaits the protagonist to play another game. Something that for some reason Mummy enjoys and seems to rely on. Mummy could easily rip the protagonist apart at any given time, able to stretch without any limits and be present at any part of the factory within seconds. But she is letting the protagonist play her games and doesn't seem to want him to escape. The protagonist traveling through the vents reaches a storage type room where the rejected toys are in, toys that have been discontinued. An example is Owen the Oven, who caused third-degree burns on children, a menacing toy which could be the result of an experiment or just simply a quirk of the toy. Soon as Cyan videotape is found, which is a voice recorded by Rick, whose complaint about bad work environment backfired, with them being demoted to work in the island of misfit toys, as he calls it.
Well, it finally happened. After years of being ignored, the company actually heard all my complaints. Yep, they listened to them very carefully. I guess my words must have really inspired them to take action. Because the next day I got demoted down here to the freaking island of misfit toys! Why do I talk to myself?
Going back to the game station, the protagonist unlocks the door to the second game called Whack-A-Wuggy. In the large sandpit surrounded by many holes where many Wuggies come out of, Mummy explains that they used to have strings attached to them, so when they would get too close to children, they'd be pulled back. But now, they don't have any more strings, insinuating that if the protagonist doesn't react quick enough, they surely will kill him.
The toys in this game used to have strings attached to them, so they could be pulled back when they got too close to the children. Have fun.
After managing to get out of it alive and whack the Wuggies, Mummy clearly voices her disappointment that the protagonist succeeded, saying that she hoped that he would stay here forever. Nonetheless, she congratulates him and gives him another clue for the code.
Oh, you did it. Hooray! Mommy is so proud of you. Here, Mommy has another hint for you.
Mummy stands behind an observation glass here, with a large amount of bloodstain trickling down the wall being observable, suggesting how many people must have died here. Going deeper in the Whack-A-Wuggy playground, the protagonist encounters Kissy Missy, who instead of showing any aggression, actually assists the protagonist by pulling the lever and opening the path for him. But before that, she gives him a disappointed and resentful look. She leaves quickly before the protagonist can even get a chance to inspect her at a closer distance. Stumbling upon another videotape, the protagonist observes an employee called Jacksepticeye, I mean Marcus, who reports on an incident recorded on March 1991. He explains witnessing a large monster with 1,000 legs when he forgot his wallet and went back to the factory after hours. This of course corresponds with the poster in Chapter 1 that the employees shouldn't be in the factory after certain hours. The interviewer, being a higher up, clearly tries to dismiss his claims and say that there's nothing but toys. This clearly shows that the company was keeping the secret of experimenting on humans and toys, so maybe it was only the children who knew the toys are alive. And of course, certain other authorized people. Going back to the game station, the protagonist unlocks the third game called Statues. In this section, the TV instructs the protagonist that he needs to play a game of statues with PJ Pugapillar. Just after the TV instructions, Mummy appears in the distance, informing the protagonist that the children used to play here and call her Mummy, as she was the closest thing they ever had to one, as of course they were orphans. However, they lived and possibly got adopted if not experimented on, which made Mummy very resentful and angry. She refers to the protagonist as an ex-employee, someone who deserves more than anyone to be trapped here and rot, rather than the toys such as Mummy, who was experimented on. Mummy clearly seems resentful of the employees of Playtime, as they experimented on her and left her here for eternity, bringing her to life, giving her consciousness, but enslaving her to work for them forever. What is strange, however, Mummy seems to recognize the protagonist, someone who doesn't seem to remember his past life and encountering Mummy. Managing to bypass PJ, Mummy becomes furious, first trying to manipulate the protagonist so that she can capture him. Then she loses her composure and clearly becomes angry, showing her true nature.
Where did you go? The game is over. Come back and Mommy will give you the code. Pinky promise. Mommy knows the game is really hard, but Mommy is just deciding you won. Come back. The rules are so simple. You die, Mommy gets to watch. Come back to me.
A note then explains who Mummy Longleg is, labeled as Experiment 1222 with a subject name Mary Payne, seemingly having been the basis for the experiment. In the note, it's written that she doesn't like the staff and shows hostility towards them, but acts motherly and caring with the children. They transfer her eventually to the kids section so they could condition her easily, as she wouldn't show her bad side in front of the children. This proves that the toys came to life with the help of human test subjects, possibly using the poppy flower amongst some other chemicals. She's labeled as Experiment 1222, with Huggy Wuggy being Experiment 1006, which means Huggy was created much earlier than her, which is true based on the information that Huggy was created in 1984 and Mummy was created in 1991. That's at least what I thought about what the experiment number of Huggy Wuggy is, which we soon will learn to be something different. Mummy then finds the protagonist and gives him a final chance of survival, playing a game of hide and seek, giving him a 10-second head start. After some time, Mummy soon finds the protagonist, chasing after him in a horrifying manner. The protagonist finally reaches a room when Mummy gets accidentally sucked into a gear system, crushing her in a gruesome manner. Just as the upper half of her body drops off from the rest of her body, a mechanical, spider-like arm pulls the upper part, as if being the spider who has been placing all the web around. Finding a tape reveals the nature of the strange, unseen entity.
Log code 08502. In relation, Experiment 1006, the prototype. A close call occurred this week in which he nearly breached containment. The prototype seemingly disassembled the digital alarm clock within his room and utilized the battery, along with several other components, to create a laser pointer, which he then fired into the security camera, disabling it. These actions allowed him 28.3 seconds completely unmonitored. Once function returned to the camera, the room appeared to be empty. one surveillance specialist went in to confirm his absence. However, upon opening the door, she realized that the prototype had hidden in one of the camera's blind spots. The prototype attempted to escape through the open door. However, another surveillance specialist was able to remotely relock the door, despite the other specialists still being inside. One casualty occurred. The prototype seems to possess an unprecedented level of intelligence beyond that of all other test subjects, as well as an alarming willingness to commit violence. Further suppression treatments will need to be enacted to ensure that no other experiments develop these qualities. Experiment 1170, Huggy Wuggy, remains the optimal outcome due to his sufficient intelligence paired with maximum obedience. End of log.
This entity is the one in fact referred to as Experiment 1006, who has shown great intelligence trying to escape and doesn't seem to shy away from showing violence. Huggy Wuggy, in fact, is Experiment 1170, despite what I used to think to be 1006, who also has high intelligence, but unlike the mechanical spider-like entity, he has maximum obedience, making him to be one of the best results out of any experiments. Managing to exit the statue's playground, the protagonist finds a way to the observation room on the higher platforms above the game station. He proceeds to activate the train, helping Puppy to get out of her web strains.
Did you kill her? Good. I'll board the train. We need to leave.
Puppy, in a menacing way, seems content with Mommy dying, then proceeds to go down to the train. A note in the observation room titled Proctoring in the game station instructs the staff of what they need to do in order to keep the children busy. However, it appears to be more sinister than just a general watchover. Each child is individually assessed based on how they did on each game, with musical memory assessing their composure, memory, and pattern recognition. The Whacker Wuggy assesses their hand-eye coordination and reaction time, and finally, the statues assesses their agility, strength, and speed. The reports then need to be handed to Stella Graber for being assorted. As seen through the Heyday image, the observers are in lab coats and clearly are analyzing the children for certain experiments. As the protagonist gets on the train and enters the code, Puppy reveals her true nature, that she in fact doesn't want the protagonist to leave ever, as she has been alone for a long time, with Mommy being the one who locked her in the glass case, with Puppy even being seemingly more manipulative and evil.
I was so scared she'd put me back in that case. But you saved me. You are perfect. Too perfect to lose. I'm sorry. I can't let you leave. I've never met anyone like you. Do you know how long I've been stuck in that case? Well, too long. I had so much time to think and reflect. Time to figure out exactly what I would do when free. We'll set things right. Terrible things have happened, but I know that whatever I need you to do, you're capable. We will.
The protagonist then stops the train, pulling the emergency brakes, causing the train to derail, ending up in a play care, while the protagonist slowly loses consciousness. It all seems the deaths mainly happened because of this mechanical experiment known as Experiment 1006, possibly breaking all the toys free and being intelligent enough to know that what the company is doing to the toys is pure slavery. Something much more sinister, however, seems to hide beneath and behind the closed doors. Something to look forward to in Chapter 3. This brings us to the end of Chapter 2. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to stay tuned for more videos and theories on Puppy Playtime Chapter 2 by hitting on the subscribe button and the notification bell. It's been your host Star, and I will see